Hello everybody, my name is Moxberry. I will be your waterbending teacher for this evening. I'm going to be showing you the ins and outs of waterbending so you can get familiar with the technique, familiar with the moves, and overall become a better waterbender. So, we're going to begin with talking about what moves should I have in my slots. We've got 9 slots that we can use, but there are way more than just 9 moves. I should mention that I'm doing this based off the plugin that is used by the MegaCraft server network. So some other bending servers might have different moves, but these are the basic. So let's see what kind of moves that we can use as a waterbender. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to our chat, we're going to type in /B, display, whatever element we want. In this case it will be water. So here's our huge list. Water bubble, water arms, surge, torrent, drain, water spout. Check out all these cool things. And that's not it. There's also these subcategories of bending. So blood, healing, ice, plant. Unfortunately, blood bending is banned on the MegaCraft server, but healing abilities, ice abilities, those are perfectly fine. So let's look at those ice abilities that we have here. /B for bending, display, ice. And then here's a whole bunch more moves that we can use. Isn't that awesome? So let's talk about some of the ones that we can use. One of the most basic moves is surge. So if we want to bind a move to a slot that we see on our right, we do /B, bind, or if you want for short, /B, B for bind. Then we type in the move. In this case, it will be surge, and then the slot that we want it in. In this case, number 1. So now we have surge bound to our number 1 slot. We can now use that move if we are a waterbender. So let's talk a little bit about what surge can do. So surge takes 2 different forms. The first form is a wave that can push people back or encase them in ice. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the water. I'm going to tap, crouch, tap. You can see these little particles show up. You can do it much quicker. You don't need to see the particles. But notice how I'm not holding. I'm just tapping. Tap. And then I look at where I want the water to go. I'm aiming. And I punch. And there it goes. There goes the wave. So think of it like this. You're crouching on the water to select it. And you're punching to tell it where to go. That's the surge wave. So this wave has the ability to push enemies back. So I crouch to select the water. Punch. Oh, and there goes the cow. There it goes. But that's not all. That's not all. This wave has another ability to it. So I'm just going to add an extra step. So before the wave hits the target, I'm going to hit crouch again. So in total, crouch to select the water. Punch, crouch. In quick succession. And it encases the enemy in ice. So just to display it again, I crouch to select the water. Punch, crouch. Very quickly. As soon as you punch, you tap crouch, and once it hits a target, it encases them in ice. But like I said before, surge takes a couple different forms. So not only does it have the wave and the ice encasing ability, it can also be used as a shield. So instead of crouching to select the water, we're going to go up to the water, punch to select it. You'll see the same particles show up. We punch to select the water, and we're going to look up and then hold crouch. There it is. You'll see this shield of water that follows your cursor appear. Now, the shield of water is great, but in order to block a lot of attacks, it has to be solid. So while you're still holding the surge shield, punch. And it turns the shield to ice, which is much more useful. So not only can you block attacks, if you catch somebody inside this shield, you can suffocate them. It's a very, very versatile ability. So to review for surge, we've got the wave, and we've got the shield. Next up, we're going to bind our next slot, /B, bind. This time, we're going to use Torrent. Torrent is another one of these moves with a bunch of different uses. So first off, we're going to go over to these cows real quick. Let's say these cows are getting too close. We're going to punch to select the water. You'll see the little particles show up, but you don't have to wait for the particles. You can just punch, hold crouch. You'll see the little water circle form around you. Ah, but these cows are getting too close. I need to make some distance. Release! And it pushes them back. Now, in order for this wave to form, you need to let the water circle around you at least once, or else it'll falter. So, look at it circle around me. Release. And anybody caught in that wave gets thrown back. But if I do it too early, it doesn't work. I can't just tap crouch, it won't work. But that's not the only use of Torrent. So it can also be used as a damage dealing weapon. So I'm going to punch to select the water, keep holding crouch, there it goes, circling around me. I'm going to aim at this cow, punch. Oh, there it goes. He took a little damage. But similar to Surge, we can add an extra step to the process. Punch to select the water, hold crouch, let it circle, and this time we're going to punch twice instead of once. Punch, punch. Encase him in ice once again. It's important to note when shooting out this projectile, if you stop holding crouch before it hits the target, the whip falls apart. So look, I'm punching at him, but, oh, I released crouch, and the whip stopped right in its tracks. So to review for Torrent, punch to select the water, hold crouch, let it circle around you, release to push people back, punch to select the water, hold crouch, punch to do a little bit of damage, or you could also punch, hold crouch, double punch, and create ice wherever it hits. Let's move on to slot number 3. This one I usually fill with Water Spout. So we're going to go to our chat /B bind Water Spout 3. So this ability is used mainly for getting around, traveling quickly, having high mobility, and it also takes 2 different forms. So we're going to go over the easier one first. We're going to get in some water. Look at us. We're going to look up, punch, and keep holding space. And you'll see I'm now on this little hovering spout of water keeping me up in the air. So you can do a little maneuvering. And not only can you maneuver, but I can switch off of Water Spout and it stays there. I stay on the spout. So let's say I'm in a fight, I would put myself up in the Water Spout, and then I'd switch off, maybe to Torrent, go down to the water, punch, hold crouch and space at the same time so I don't go down anymore. Aim. Boom. Boom. So Water Spout is fantastic for gaining that mobility advantage over your target. However, it only works when you're over either water or snow. If you're over snow, Water Spout will work. But if I go over this grass, oh, there it goes. There's no water here. So the other part of Water Spout is getting somewhere extremely quickly. So let's say I want to go up to the top of that hill. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to, similar to Torrent, I'm going to punch the water, hold crouch, aim, release. And the water will bring me up there, like I'm riding a little river. Once you release, you kind of need to trust the water a little bit. It'll just follow your cursor. So just one more time, let's say I want to go up to the top of there. Punch the water, hold crouch, let it circle, release. There we go. And it'll just gently bring us up the hill. Alright, let's move on, but before we get on to number 4, I want to say I will be going over every single move and talking about how they work. You can arrange your slots however you like, for whatever combos you want or whatever strategy you have in mind. This just happens to be the order in which I'm teaching them. So let's move on to slot number 4. This one we're going to fill in phase change /B bind phase change. There it is. Phase change is a very simple move, but it definitely is extremely helpful. So you see this water here? Punch, punch, punch. Phase change allows you to turn water into ice and ice back to water. So in this case, it's just punch to freeze, hold crouch to melt. I use this when I'm going up against a waterbender. So let's say somebody's going up against me and they decide to encase me in some ice. I would go to phase change, hold crouch, and it would get me out of the ice. Uh-oh. Hey, buddy. Oh, no. Let's move on to slot number 5. Slot number 5 is going to be Water Arms /B bind Water Arms 5. So to create your Water Arms, you're going to look at a source of water, tap crouch, and there they are. There's your arms. Check that out. And as you can see over on my right here, all of my slots have changed because now they correlate with what I can do with the water arms. So let's go over what these water arms can do. So let's say you got a target kind of far away from you. You want to bring them a little bit closer. Punch. Oh, and there you go. You pull them closer. All of your water arms abilities can be activated simply by punching. Let's say you want to do some damage. Punch, punch, punch. Add some range there. Grapple is a mobility tool. Think of your arms as becoming a little bit of a grappling hook. Let's say we want to get up this hill. We're going to aim, punch, oh, and there we go. Grapple along the land, move really quickly. Extremely useful if you need to catch up with somebody running away from you. Then let's say somebody's maybe moving around too fast. You want to slow them down. We'll use grab, punch, and then you kind of look around and you got him in your hands there. And then freeze. Freeze is like a projectile weapon, so I can shoot a little freeze ball at him. Bam. The freeze slows down the target so they're not able to run away as fast. And then spear, which is by far one of your more powerful water arms tools. Bam. It encases your enemy in ice. But as you can see, one of my arms is gone because I just used it to freeze him in ice. Now I've only got one arm. Of course, I can still do everything that I can normally do, but now I've only got one arm. So let's go ahead and use our other spear. Bam! So when using water arms, think of it as if there's this imaginary power bar or a battery that your water arms are associated with. So if you use any of your abilities too much, your water arms are eventually going to run out of power. So for example, let's take freeze. Let's summon our arms here. Go to freeze. We can only use this a couple times before our water arms batteries go away. And for the spears we just saw, think of each spear as doing 50% of your water arms battery. Water arms has a very long cooldown, so you need to be extremely conscious of how you use them. Alright, let's move on to slot number 6. /B, bind. This is going to be the first of our ice abilities, Frost Breath. Now Frost Breath is pretty simple, honestly. All you have to do is hold crouch. Now you can hold crouch for a good amount of time. And you see that it encases things in snow, it freezes water and all that stuff. You can also walk up to maybe a mob or something. You can Frost Breath them, encase them in ice for a little bit. Frost Breath is one of the few water abilities that doesn't require a water source. It is extremely useful in any waterbender's arsenal. Because let's say I'm fighting in this Fire Nation temple. You see any water around? No, sir, I don't. But I can still encase people in ice with Frost Breath. Something about waterbenders, they are very susceptible to fall damage. Unlike chi blockers, earthbenders, and airbenders, we definitely take fall damage. However, due to one of our passives, we do not take fall damage on snow or ice. And as you saw earlier, Frost Breath can encase just about anything in snow. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go high up here, I'm going to set my game mode to survival, and I'm going to catch myself using Frost Breath, where I would normally die. Game mode survival. As I'm falling, there we go. I used Frost Breath right before I hit the ground, made this little box of snow here that I could land on, and I'm perfectly safe. Alright, next up on my list here is Water Bubble. Let's go ahead and bind that, /B, bind Water Bubble number 7. So this one's mostly just a utility ability. So in this case, let's say you're maybe invading a guardian temple and you want to catch your breath. You can hold crouch, and it creates this little bubble of water for you to move around in. And then once you unhold crouch, it kind of goes away. But you can also punch, and it causes the bubble to appear around you without having to crouch, but only for a limited amount of time. Very simple ability. Like I said, mostly for utility. Let's go ahead and move on. Alright, this next one is Ice Blast, /B, bind, Ice Blast. So this one's a simple projectile. You need either water or snow or ice to shoot it. We're going to crouch to select the water, aim, punch. And there it goes. Very short cooldown. You can use this back and forth. Easy peasy. Crouch to select the water. Aim. Punch. Now, this slows them down. If you get hit with an Ice Blast, you get slowed down. Alright, let's move on to slot number 9. This one is Water Manipulation. /B. Bind. Water Manipulation. There it is. Now, it has the exact same movement as Ice Blast. So we look at the water, crouch, punch. Look at the water, crouch, punch. Extremely simple. Look at the water, crouch, punch. Something that I like to do is switch back and forth between Ice Blast and Water Manipulation to almost rapid fire. So, Ice Blast, Water Manipulation, Ice Blast, Water Manipulation, Ice Blast. Each one of these abilities do about a heart or a heart and a half of damage. So imagine just being constantly bombarded by Water Manipulation, Ice Blast, Water Manipulation, Ice Blast, back and forth. That starts to whittle down health extremely quickly. So as you can see, my slots have been completely filled up. However, there are plenty more waterbending moves that you can use. So we're going to go over those now. Remember, you do not have to have your slots the same as mine. They vary from waterbender to waterbender. In fact, it's very rare to see two waterbenders with the same slots. Be creative. Think about what's going to be best for you. Whatever you think is a good strategy, see if you can make it work. So this next one I'm going to show you, I'm going to rebind my number 1 slot /B. Bind Octopus Form. Octopus Form is a AoE attack. Very defensive in nature though, so what we're going to do is we're going to punch to select the water, and we're going to hold crouch. There it is. As you can see, the water is acting like an octopus around us. There it is. Now this will also freeze the water under you, so you can go on water and do this. However, we're not going to do any damage unless we start punching. So let's go up to this cow here. So as he gets caught in the octopus form, you see he's not taking any damage. But once I start punching, then he takes damage. So for octopus form, it actually protects all 360 degrees around you at once. So if I just decided to like look up this way and I just started punching, the area behind me is also protected. So if somebody ran up from behind me and I'm punching this way, it would still do damage to them. A very useful ability, especially when going up against mobs, because they don't really know how to get around it. They just charge at you, and then they just start taking damage when you're just... This next ability we're going to be using is solely for utility. We're going to bind Wake Fishing. So this next ability is purely for survival. We're going to look at the water, and we're going to hold crouch. Oh, there it is. Yep. And you'll see these particles appear as you keep holding, and fish are just going to get spewed back at you. It has a very short cooldown, so you can get countless amount of fish just by sitting there and holding crouch at the water. Of course, this doesn't exactly have a whole lot of combat use. I don't know if you're going to like outfish the enemy or something. You're going up against a firebender, and you're like, oh, but you haven't seen my ultimate move yet. Alright, the next move we're going to talk about is Drain /B. Bind. Drain 3. Now, Drain is kind of a mix between a highly situational combat tool and a mostly utility tool. So something that I haven't talked about yet is that water is all around us. You can use a lot of different things as a source for water. So, for example, these plants. This tall grass here. Let's say I wanted to shoot a water manipulation, but uh-oh, I'm nowhere near a water source. What am I going to do? I'm going to look at this plant, crouch, punch. If you remember in Avatar The Last Airbender, if you've seen it, that bloodbending person, Hama, she was able to pull the water out of plants, and the swamp benders were able to bend the water inside the plants. That's kind of what we're doing here too. So let's say we want to hit this cow. Bam! So I got 3 water bottles in my inventory right here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm not going to select any water. I haven't selected any water. I'm just going to look. I'm going to punch. Now as you can see, one of my water bottles emptied when I did that. See? There it goes. and the water manipulation comes back to me to refill the bottle. Bottle bending, as we like to call it, is a very useful way of fighting in an arena that maybe doesn't exactly have that much water. So in this case, you know, again, fighting in this Fire Nation arena here, you want to summon an octopus form, you just hold crouch. And there it is. As you can see, one of my bottles is empty, but it definitely works. Or I wanted to summon my water arms. Ah, but now look at that. Your bottles are empty. What are you going to do? You got no more water. So what you can do is use drain. So here we are around all these plants and stuff. We can hold crouch. We're drawing the water from the plants, and it fills our bottles of water here. But that's not all drain can do. Let's say we go over here to this water source. We can hold crouch, and I'll start draining some water into this little thingy here. I'm still holding crouch, by the way. This little piece of water. We can punch at it, and it sends out a projectile, just like water manipulation. So this works with plants too. Let's say I go over here. I'm going to draw some water from the plants. Here he comes. And then we got our little disc here. We can punch, send it off, and do some damage. Punch, send it off, and do some damage. There it goes. So again, extremely situational. There are not going to be a lot of situations where you're just going to be like, I need to do some damage, but all my things are on cooldown. Because you've got water manipulation, you've got ice blast, you've got a little bit of surge, you've got torrent, all of these things that can do a lot of damage and definitely make some plays. It's very unlikely that you're going to have all of them on cooldown at the exact same time, to the point in which you're going to need to use drain out of anything to do damage. Alright, let's move on to some more of the ice abilities. Let's go ahead and bind Ice Spike. Now, Ice Spike moves a lot like Ice Blast. You crouch to select the water, punch to tell it where to go. It's just another one of these abilities. So Ice Spike just works almost exactly the same as Ice Blast. But that's not the only ability that Ice Spike has, so let's get some ice in here. There we go. Now what we can do is we can walk up to the ice right here. There it is. We're going to tap crouch, summon some spikes. And let's say you want to send up only one ice spike. All you got to do, you can look at the ice now, just punch. There it goes. Alright, so that's about it for Ice Spike. We're going to move on to Ice Claws. Now, this is another one of the moves that actually doesn't require any sort of water around you. All you got to do is hold crouch. You'll see some particles, and once they turn into that icy blue particle right above your hand, you can just punch to send it off. There you go. And the cooldown of this is nearly invisible. You can just keep doing it over and over. It just has a little bit of a charge up time, and it does a decent amount of damage, all things considered. So let's see if we can hit this bat here. Come here, bat. There he goes. So if you're in an environment that doesn't necessarily have a whole lot of water, Ice Claws is a good alternative for maybe Ice Blast or water manipulation. Alright, and last but not least, we have Ice Wall. It's a bit of a defensive ability. All we do is look at the water, tap crouch, there you go, there's your wall. There's your wall of ice. Yeah, as you can see, it does disappear after a little while. But let's say you got like a fireball coming towards you or an air blast, and you just gotta react really quickly. There it is. Protection. Alright, so that's it. We went over every single waterbending move available to us on the Megacraft Gaming Network. However, that's not all. In the next video, I'm going to be teaching you how to use combos, which isn't something that you can bind to your slots, but is in fact a combination of pre-existing moves. These water combos are extremely high damaging, high utility, some of the most useful stuff that you can have in the heat of battle. They're a little bit tough to use, but that's why they're so useful. But for now, I've shown you the basics, and if you ever need a refresher, you can go into chat and type in this command. /B, help, and then whatever move you want. So let's say you forget how to use Surge. You type in /B, help, Surge. And look at that. It gives you a very helpful, comprehensive description of how to use the ability. Or if you want, you can just come and watch the video again. So like I said, next video I'm going to be showing you how to use water combos, how to put them together, how to use them efficiently, But remember, you're not going to become a perfect waterbender overnight. With practice makes perfect. You're not going to become Master Paku within a couple hours. So maybe find a sparring partner and try a couple things out on them. See if you can get down the basics. And soon enough, with enough practice, I'm sure that you'll become one of the best waterbenders the server has ever seen. But until then, thank you for watching. May the moon and ocean spirits bless you. Have a good one. Bye.